General Hospital is preparing for a stormy first week of September, one filled with lies, danger, and emotional reckonings that will leave Port Charles reeling. Spoilers for the week of September 1, 2025, confirm 3 pivotal arcs: Vaughn and Josslyn trapped in a life-threatening situation, Michael struggling with secrets and unexpected confessions, and Kai deciding whether redemption is possible for someone who has been entangled in deception. Beneath those central threads, other key figures like Britt, Anna, and Jason are weaving themselves into a web of consequences that could explode at any moment. What follows is not simply another week of shifting alliances but rather a carefully orchestrated build toward a new era of distrust and fractured loyalty, where every choice is weighted with the risk of betrayal. The darkest danger begins in the sterile, suffocating confines of a server room deep inside the Five Poppies, where Vaughn and Josslyn find themselves in a peril that is more psychological than physical. The door is bolted, the surveillance is constant, and the chill of isolation presses down like a cage. For Josslyn, this is not merely about fear for her own life but the dawning realization that her family name cannot shield her from every danger that looms in Port Charles. For Vaughn, the claustrophobic walls are more than barriers. They are reminders of his own unresolved past choices, the weight of which now bears down on him with lethal force. Both are forced to face the possibility that rescue may not come quickly enough. The cruelty of the situation is magnified by the fact that Britt Westbourne stumbled upon them and then deliberately turned her back. Her silence is as menacing as any weapon, because it leaves them not only imprisoned but abandoned by someone who had the power to change their fate. Britt's decision marks a seismic shift in her character. Viewers familiar with her long history of questionable ethics know she rarely acts without motive, but this choice takes her into chilling new territory. Was it indifference, calculation, or fear that led her to walk away from Vaughn and Josslyn? If she keeps her silence when she next crosses paths with Jason Morgan, the consequences will be devastating. Jason, who has spent his life operating within the blurred moral lines of loyalty and secrecy, may find himself pushed into conflict with Britt in ways neither expected. Britt's choice could unravel her carefully guarded return to Port Charles, and her secrets could put her on a collision course not only with Jason but with an entire town that will see her as culpable if tragedy befalls the young captives. Jason's proximity to the Five Poppies provides a glimmer of hope, though his focus is fractured by the constant threats circling Port Charles. Still, Jason has built his life on instinct and timing, and those traits may be the only thing standing between Vaughn and Josslyn and an unspeakable end. The server room scenario also positions Anna Devane squarely in the line of fire. Determined to push Jack Brennan into revealing what he knows, Anna presses him with the relentless sharpness of a career spent battling espionage and betrayal. Yet Brennan, slippery as ever, counters with misdirection, feeding Anna lies about supposed contact with Vaughn and Josslyn. His strategy is not to end her investigation but to redirect it long enough for him to solidify his grip on whatever sinister plan he is nurturing. The lies are temporary, but in Port Charles, even temporary lies can alter the trajectory of lives permanently. Elsewhere, the emotional heartbeat of the week rests with Michael Corinthos, whose quiet suffering takes him into the orbit of Brooklyn Quartermain. For Michael, opening up has never been easy, burdened as he is with the weight of family expectations, past trauma, and a gnawing sense that his own decisions often ripple out to harm those he loves most. With Brooke-Lynn, however, there is a fragile space carved out for honesty. Their conversation is not simply about unburdening, it is about confronting the shadows of choices Michael has tried to bury. Brooke-Lynn, herself no stranger to guilt and compromise, provides a mirror that forces Michael to question whether his quest for control has crossed into destructive obsession. The emotional resonance of their scenes reminds fans that danger in Port Charles is not confined to bullets or locked rooms. It thrives in whispered truths, exposed vulnerabilities, and the courage to admit weakness in front of someone who could exploit it. Then comes Kai Taylor, whose storyline threads through this week with a tone of penance and uncertainty. Kai has operated in gray spaces before, entangling himself with people and schemes that have damaged his credibility and alienated him from those he cares about. Now, however, the gravity of recent events compels him toward an unfamiliar path: amends. Yet at General Hospital, redemption is never straightforward. To repair what has been broken requires more than apology. It demands risk, sacrifice, and the willingness to be despised before one can be forgiven. Kai's efforts to reconcile his past with a future he can live with place him in the precarious position of either bridging divides or creating new fractures. The question is whether Port Charles will allow him a second chance, or whether his very act of trying will provoke forces that prefer him trapped in his own failures. The week of September 1st does not unfold in isolation. Each storyline feeds into a broader current of paranoia and mistrust sweeping through Port Charles. Vaughn and Josslyn's danger casts a shadow of dread that will spread to every family once news breaks of their captivity. Brit's secret hovers like a ticking bomb, threatening to destroy her alliances before she can even rebuild them. Michael's confession signals potential shifts within the Quatermain and Corinthos dynasties, opening cracks that enemies could exploit. Kai's journey of amends represents not only personal redemption but the chance to re-evaluate what it means to survive in a city where reputations are weaponized. And Anna's battle of wits with Brennan reminds viewers that the fight for truth is never clean, that lies can buy time, but that time often runs out with deadly consequences. The drama is sharpened by its unpredictability. Will Jason uncover Vaughn and Josslyn before Brennan's manipulation buries the truth too deeply? Will Brit's silence become the very thing that destroys her chance at stability? Will Michael's emotional honesty lead to reconciliation or betrayal? Will Kai's attempt at redemption paint a target on his back? Port Charles thrives on these questions, and as the week unfolds, it becomes clear that every answer only leads to deeper shadows. General Hospital is not merely presenting a handful of storylines, it is constructing a mosaic of deceit, survival, and longing that demands fans pay close attention to every gesture, every word, and every choice. In the end, what makes this week unforgettable is not only the individual twists but the sense that a new foundation is being laid beneath Port Charles. The captivity of Vaughn and Josslyn, the dangerous silence of Brit, the vulnerable honesty of Michael, the risky amends of Kai, and the manipulations of Brennan are not isolated beats but strands in a tightening web. As the tension builds, it is no longer a matter of whether secrets will explode but when, and who will be left standing once they do. The week of September 1st promises not just drama but revelation, pushing characters to extremes and forcing them, and the audience, to confront the terrifying truth that in General Hospital, survival comes at the cost of trust, and trust is always the first casualty.